In the past, we spoke about the Tanoim, we spoke about the Amoraim. The Tanoim, we mentioned the Tanoim were in Eretz Yisrael. Primarily the Tanoim were in Eretz Yisrael. And they were ruled by the Romans, and it was a very difficult time for the Yidden. The Romans made decrees against Bris Milah, against Shabbos, against giving smicha, and it was during that time that we lost the smicha. What does that mean? Halachically, smicha is only if someone receives smicha in Eretz Yisrael. That's condition number one, in Eretz Yisrael. And number two, it has to be ish mipi ish from Moshe Rabbeinu. It has to be tradition passed down Moshe to Yeshua, Yeshua to Zkanim, Zkanim to Nevi'im, tradition all the way down from Moshe Rabbeinu. Direct line in Eretz Yisrael. Those are the two conditions. In Eretz Yisrael, directly from Moshe Rabbeinu. What happened was that during the times of the Romans, when the Romans ruled over Eretz Yisrael, the Tanoim, the Romans, they wanted to stop Yiddishkeit. So one time they banned learning Torah. That's when Rabbi Kiva was captured and killed. And Rabbi Chanan ben Tradim was captured and killed, as we know from the Sarah Gemalchus. And then they just decided, you know what, if we have no Rabbanim, we have no Torah. No yeshivas, no smicha, no nothing. So they made a decree that you're not allowed to give smicha. And we learned about this before Rosh Hashanah. It's one of the Sarah Gemalchus, Rabbi Yud ben Bava. And he said, he went between two mountains, and it said, whoever wants smicha could come to me. I'll give you smicha. Rabbi Meir came, Rabbi Yehuda came, I think Rabbi Lazar came, and he gave them smicha, and they died. Unfortunately, within 100 years, smicha was lost because it wasn't ish mipi ish. So the smicha that we have today is not a genuine smicha. It's a smicha, but it's not a genuine smicha. That was during the times of the Tanoim. Tanoim, Eretz Yisrael, over the Romans. Then we spoke about the Amoraim. The Amoraim, as we all know, are in the Gemara. They wrote the Gemara. And there are only 129 Tanoim, but there are many, many more Amoraim. The Tanoim were approximately, mainly from Shimon HaTzadik until Rabbeinu HaKadosh. And the Tanoim, the Amoraim were there for another 300 years, from approximately year 200 to the year 500 of the Geisha calendar. And they compiled the Gemara. Now, they are based mainly in Bavel. They are in Eretz Yisrael. That's why we have the Talmud Yerushalmi. The B'yichna, the Shlokish. There is yeshiva in Eretz Yisrael. However, the Amoraim are mainly based in Bavel, and they are under the Babylonians, the Persians. They're not under the Romans anymore, and they are in Bavel mainly, not Eretz Yisrael. Okay, so that's what we learned until now, and that's where we're holding in our journey of the Bnei Yisrael. Now, here we go. So we're holding now in history in the year 500, 1500 years ago. Let's go further. So there is a category of people called the Rabbanon Saveroim, which I have here on the bottom left corner. They were for a short period of time. But let's mainly speak about the Gaonim. The Gaonim they were mainly under the control of the Arabs. During this time, we have Reb Sharira Gaon, Reb Achai Gaon, Reb Sadia Gaon. It's also a difficult time. But what's happening at this point in time is that Yidden are moving to North Africa and to Europe. Okay, it's good. Okay, thank you. At this point, the Yidden they used to be living in Eretz Yisrael and Bavel, and now they're moving more towards North Africa and Europe. So let's give a little history of the time of what we're going through at this time. At this point is when all of a sudden we have a difference between Sephardim and Ashkenazim. Until now, all that there was Yidden. There was Yidden. There was nothing else. There weren't Ashkenazim, Sephardim. It was all the same thing. Everyone held the same thing. Every Jewish community has the Gemara. Everyone learns Talmud Bavli. It's accepted throughout the entire world. However, at this point, Yidden are really moving around the world. They're leaving Bavel, leaving Eretz Yisrael, and they're now moving to North Africa and Europe. The problem is Yidden were moving, but the Rabbanim were not moving. The yeshivas were not moving. And this was a big problem because Yidden were living in countries without a Rav, without Torah. So what happened? How did this happen? So first of all, 1 second. Sorry. What's that? Sorry, here we go. Okay. During this time, what happened was in the year 637, this Muhammad is on the scene, and they decide that they're going on a campaign to conquer Eretz Yisrael. And they come from Mecca, they go and they conquer Eretz Yisrael in the year 637. Then, in the year 711, they go on a campaign to try to conquer the rest of the world. And as we can see from this map, right, so Muhammad he started his campaign in 622, and he is the dark orange section. That's what his conquest. Later on, there are more caliphs, and they add more territory. They conquer pretty much most of the Middle East. They conquer Egypt, Syria, Iran, Iraq at the time, going all the way up towards Armenia and probably Uzbekistan, the area over there. Then later on, after Eretz Yisrael is conquered, 661, they start going west, more west, and they conquer Fez, Morocco, Tunisia, and they go more east as well. I'm blocking over here, but they cross through, it's called the Straits of Gibraltar, right? I'm just zooming into this section over here. It's on the top left. They want to go from Africa, North Africa to Europe. So the best way to go from North Africa to Europe is through Spain, and there's a little section over here called the Straits of Gibraltar, which you can see over here, a better picture. This is North Africa. They tried to cross over into Spain, and they conquered much of Spain. That's why the Spain are called the Sephardim, even though, and so are people from North Africa. And they tried France from their conquest. And Yidden are traveling with them throughout time. Two different covers of the book. But it's that many and very rights. Toward North Africa and Europe. So during this time, there's also another event that happens, which is called the Kuzari. The Kuzari is that there was a king. There's a king in a place called Kuzar. It's a fascinating story. And they have, I think it's not just, it's a Kuzarian Empire is between, it's sort of where Georgia and the sons that he wants to and he has something about Yiddish, and he decided so he it's a fascinating time. The Jewish Empire of Kuzar and the middle of this area is a critical story. Different reports. Either they say that it became a Mongolian Empire, a Mongolian army, and they were the survivors. Say that now, then Hashem made an amazing hashgacha pratis that helped spread Yiddishkeit throughout the world. As I mentioned, all the Rabbanim were living in Babel. So Hashem made the case happen. Most of it did not survive. We have letters from Reb Shrita Goyen. We have captured by their ship was captured by the first one, and they made him the Rosh Hashanah. Then there was Reb Chushiel. Reb Chushiel was brought to teach each other. And from here, a lot of the Rishonim got their education from Reb Chushiel, and eventually we'll see how it. And he could my friend Smith about, if you know the Averas, I come to Cordova saying I needed them. It was so I remember correctly. The next job after him, eventually came to Spain and worked by and Moshe and his son and transferred to the rest of the world. To follow, but no one else knows about it. Right? So it only happened during this time. We have the story of and he's sort of so he's children. That he the other now sometimes these two things but she does now we're holding the era of the Rishonim. Amirayim, the Gaonim. Tanoim was approximately from the year from the second base when the second base of Mikdash was built, which was year 3408 until the year 3828. I'm sorry, until the year 200 of the Jewish calendar. That was the time of the Tanoim. From year 200 to 400 to 500 is the era of the Amirayim. From 500 to approximately 1000 is the era of the Gaonim and the Rabbanan Savaroi. Now, from the year 1000 until the approximately the year 1492 is the era of the Rishonim. All right, let's see. A second. Let's see if I lost my mouse here. My computer froze here. Can everyone still hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay, good. Shkoyach. I just want to see where everything was holding. It seems like my mouse froze. Okay, you can still see the screen full screen, correct? All right. My computer is malfunctioning a little bit. All right. So here we are. We are the time of the Rishonim. So before we begin to get into the Rishonim, let's speak about Reb Shmuel Nuggets. Reb Shmuel Nuggets is an incredible time in Jewish history. Why? You have a lot of Yidden are living in Spain, and what happened is that the king of Spain had an advisor. And his advisor was the neighbor of Shmuel Nuggets. And the advisor, often when he needed to write certain different things or advise the king, he would ask his neighbor, Shmuel Nuggets, for advice. And Shmuel Nuggets would give it advice, and he would give it to the king, and it always worked out. One day, this advisor is sick; he's dying, and the king says, "What's going to be? What am I going to do without you?" And the advisor says, "I'll be honest with you, Your Majesty. It wasn't really me. All the ideas I gave you was really from my neighbor of Shmuel Nuggets." Sorry, my mouse, I'm not sure what's happened with my computer. My mouse froze. And it's not letting me control anything. All right. Someone just sent a comment. Someone speak up. Do you guys see everything regular? Because if yes, then I could continue. If not, then I have to stop to figure this out.
It's a bit smaller, but you can still see it.
Okay, all right, that's a problem.
Most of the screen.
Huh?
It's most of the screen, not full screen, but it's most of it.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'm not sure. This guy switched to his computer because it has a better video. However, I don't think this is working. Everything else is working as well. All right, I think let's just continue with this for now, and then we'll play around with this. I'll play around with this later on. So, what happened was the king decided that Shmuel Navid should become his advisor. He said, my advisor is gone, let me go straight to the source. And Shmuel Navid became the advisor to the king. And this was incredible for the Yidden. Can you imagine? You have a Jewish person in the courts. This was very good for the Yidden. And there's a street in Eretz Yisrael named after Shmuel Navid, and he really helped the Yidden. He actually fought wars for Spain. He was very influential in the country. And what happened was, the reason why I have a tongue here, is because one time the Shmuel Navid was walking down the street with the king, and someone came and started cursing at Shmuel Navid. You Jew! And he started saying a lot of nasty things. And the king told Shmuel Navid, I command you to cut out his tongue. A week later, they go down the street. They walk down the street, and this fellow is still there. This fellow is still there, and the king said, I thought I told you to cut out his tongue. His tongue is still fine. And, however, this man, when he came to them, he starts praising Rav Shmuel Navid. Oh, you're a tzaddik, you're a wonderful person, you're very good. So the king said, what happened? So Rav Shmuel Navid said, I listened to you, your majesty. I have cut out his tongue and put in a new tongue. Basically, he said, I gave him a lot of gifts, I gave him a lot of presents, and now he's a friend of mine. So now I cut out his evil tongue and I put in a good tongue. And the king was very happy with this. And this went on for many years. And Shmuel Navid was very good for the Yidden, and this continued while as long as he was alive, and then his son took over after he died, and it was good for a couple years, but didn't last as long.